is good, defenders, and welcome to episode 327 as the snowball keeps rolling of the LAFC podcast your mother warned you about. That's right. This is Defenders of the Bank coming at you as the Austin Draw puts our winless streak at 4. That's right. 4 matches in a row without a W. You know my voice. It's the Scarf. J.R. Liebert coming to you live from Lawndale. And good evening to all of you who may have joined us from watching the Jetropolitans take out the former House of Tom Brady-led New England Patriots. But no, it was all Aaron Rodgers all the time on this. And as Gerardo Rios said, it's like you're looking inside my head, Gerardo. We didn't lose. I say that to my, of course, partner in pod, and he's hailing from world famous Fellow Monster Studios, but looking much more like the hybrid athlete of Aaron Rodgers Vela right now. One Christian Philly Philemon.
What parallel universe are we living in, Scarf? LAFC ties a conference cellar dweller, and the Jets beat the New England Patriots. Am I dreaming or just still semi-sad drunk from Saturday night? I can't quite figure that part out. It's just odd to me. On one end, I should be really happy. On the other end, I'm mildly confused. And the part that was normally mildly confused is normally the part that is really happy, overwhelmed with a lot of joy. Whereas I wear this green jersey and I see it, I think of all the times the Jets have let me down, the butt fumbles, the this, the that's, and all the other times that LAFC made me proud. And I still am proud, FYI, of being an LAFC fan. But just what a weird time period. Just goes to show you whether times are good or whether times are bad, those two shall pass.
All I gotta say is someone's got to explain to me out there who Gunna is. He was pitch side, but I definitely knew Sergio Vain. That was pretty cool to see Manaz, guitarist, there at BMO Stadium pitch side. That was one of the highlights. But Philly, certainly the highlight before the match on the pitch with his wife, and then during the match in director's club or the director's box, with his wife. Would be, of course, the return to BMO Stadium, for at least for now, of Carlos Vela. Huge
That was amazing. It was exciting. Got to see him on the pitch with his wife and then on the Jumbotron sitting in the director's club. Yes, those are happy times. Our good friend Chris Lafferty posted on his social media page on Instagram. It actually brought him to tears seeing Carlos Vela. So, yes, that was a very powerful moment. Very powerful moment, and I'm very excited. If you go back and listen to the press conference, Carlos was hilarious. He talked about, and in a way, I'm kind of glad you and I weren't there, because he looks around at the audience. He goes, I didn't miss any of you, but I miss being here. And Josh Gross goes, we know you didn't miss us, but what did you miss? And he's like, oh, tough question. Carlos Vela was hilarious. When Carlos Vela's smiling, Carlos Vela is looking slim. And as Joseph Zacher on Hard LAFC said the other night, look at slimmer that he did, especially during that COVID year. Maybe even slimmer than 2019, Carlos Vela. He did say he doesn't know whether it'll be a week or 3 weeks, but when he knows that he's ready, he's going to let Steve know and he's going to contribute as best as he can. Now, to your point about Gunna, I don't know who he is either. I think pop culture references of the present day and age are lost for you and I guess most of us that are above the age of like 38. But apparently the guy's got somewhere between 4 and 5 million Instagram followers. They gave him a ring, or at least he wore a ring. And I saw that on LAFC's social media page. Goes to show you, all you got to do is have a few million followers and you get yourself a ring, which is, good enough on him. But the comments that I saw on the post, something about him being a rat. So I have no idea what any of that means, but whatever. Carlos Vela was all that mattered. Hey, and Brendan Hunt was there. That was kind of cool. Will Ferrell was there. Hell, you and I literally bumped into him on our way into the press conference. So it is what it is.
I always forget how big of a guy Will Ferrell is. He's like 6'3", 6'4", just kind of a big dude, man. You always forget because he's always also decked out in like 9 layers of LAFC stuff. Philly, the other thing about Carlos Vela, since we're talking about him at the top of the podcast, we might as well get it over with. Talk about his contract details. MLS.
Real quick.
Yes.
Real quick. I see it in the chat. I probably should have completed my statement. I just want to address it because you wrote it. The people at home listening can't see it. For those listening to you at home, when Carlos Vela said, I didn't miss any of you, he didn't mean the LAFC supporters, folks. He meant the people in the media. I just wanted to make sure that was crystal clear. He loves the supporters. He loves the fans. So that's what I meant. He wasn't thrilled to talk or see media because he's never been that way. So just wanted to make sure we cleared the air. Scarf, you have the floor.
Yeah. So Carlos Vela's contract has been something of a talking point throughout the circles. MLS released an updated roster guide for every single team out there. And the big news was that Carlos Vela is less than a TAM player in terms of salary. Less than a TAM player. That is huge for LAFC to be able to get a player of his talent level at less than TAM. I mean, this is a club that for years was paying Pancho Ginella $500,000 a year to sit the bench. So what we are able to get for Carlos Vela now has been fantastic. What we've been able to get Hugo Lloris for, obviously John Thorrington doing all the things. And the other thing that we want to talk about is he signed through this season with a club option for next year. So what does that mean? That means that hopefully, the club picks up his option because of what they see from Carlos over these last few matches, and we get the 1-year-long Carlos Vela retirement experience, the final ride, the last dance, whatever you want to call it. And of course, what we're hoping is that in the summer transfer window, he brings over his boy, Antoine Griezmann, so that they can ride off into the Los Angeles sunset, or maybe just ride down Sunset Boulevard holding another MLS Cup.
Yep. By the way, something that we had addressed in one of the last podcasts, and it's particular to Football Foo's question about how long is Marlon's contract. He very much was brought in as a result of Murillo's injury. We speculated about that, but Justin Ruderman, I guess, transcribed John Thornton's comment about it. So that's exactly how he landed on our list. They had scouted him, they'd sought him from a little while prior, but that's the reason why we have him. Not sure what the rest of the story is with him. Again, still waiting on that P1 visa issue. The weird thing about it is he failed his physical for the last club he was at. So I don't exactly know what that means. We were talking to our buddy Celso from Voices of the Black and Gold. Is it an injury, or is he just straight up just not in shape, or is there some kind of other issue that we don't know of? So that's kind of that. When I heard all of that, that was a room and a cause for concern. But once that clears up, we'll have more information and we'll be able to let you all know about that.
Yeah, and we all know, seeing these last few matches, how critical center back depth is going to be for us down the line. Look, we're going to kind of jump the shark just a little bit here, but a little bit of a defensive blunder by Aaron Long, one of the very few that he's made all season, is what cost us. How many more matches can we keep relying on the older Maxime Chanot back there? I think we all realize, right, Philly, that Eddie may not be that guy anymore. Eddie Segura, not the guy who we want starting and playing significant minutes at center back. It's one of those things there's not even like a Tony Leone who's like a young, big, strapping kid ready to come off. I guess that would have been De La Valle, right? That would have been that would have been the big name, Lorenzo De La Valle back there, the kind of protege of Giorgio Chiellini. He's obviously out for the season, getting his knee redone. So, it's tough because center back was our strength for such a long time, playing with those three in the back. And now without Murillo and needing to get Marlon up to speed, it's a thing for sure.
Football Foo in the chat goes, he's probably a drunk. That's why Barca didn't want him. It's kind of funny. He's actually had a pretty good career. I think Shakhtar was the last team he was with. Shakhtar, a team out of the Ukraine, not playing in the Ukraine because of what's going on. What I can tell you that they're playing in Gelsenkirchen, Deutschland, Germany, in the Veltins Arena, where Schalke plays. And for all you Dortmund supporters out there, I'm sure you're thinking he's got to be a drunk if he's playing over there. Anyway, just wanted to throw a little joke out there. Genuine Cougar in the chat goes, saw Dolo's press conference. He seemed pretty okay with a draw. Maybe I'm overreading it. He didn't seem okay to me in the press conference, Scarf. You and I were really, really close to Dolo. He looked exhausted, absolutely tired and exhausted. And I want to comment on something he said towards the end. Somebody please remind me because I forget. But anyway, we should probably get into news and notes, talk some fun stuff, get this recap over with, and then go about our Thursday night.
Yeah, look, episode 327, Little Rock, Arkansas. I've actually been to Little Rock once with my middle schoolers. 7th grade, went down to Little Rock, home of Central High School, where there was first integrated, and home of the Bill Clinton Library, which was kind of neat too. Got to tour a lot of really cool civil rights monuments and museums there in Little Rock. Also spent some time in a couple of the surrounding cities. Really cool area there in Little Rock. That's area code 327, you guys. Little Rock. There you go. Philly, I don't know about you, but other than my favorite yerba mate drink, Guayaki, finally becoming a club sponsor, which is kind of cool. We got a nice little bag in the media room there from is it Guayaki? I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. The yellow can with the Enlightenment, the yerba mate that everybody loves so much. That's like one of my favorite drinks ever. They're now a club sponsor. We got a little thing. What?
You love it so much you didn't even know how to pronounce the name of the company.
No, but it's yerba mate. Ask for, hey, do you have any yerba mate? Yeah, it's the yellow can with the Enlightenment. Come on, it's everyone's favorite yerba mate. We all love it. That was kind of cool, getting a little bag from them. The only other thing I want to talk about, Philly, is something that you also clearly want to talk about. Yours is hanging right behind you. Mine is on my chest right now. I had to kind of, it's a little snug on me because I'm a little bigger than our friend Ken, but real quick, on behalf of Philly, who's going to talk about this real quick, I just want to say the McNook family has been near and dear to our hearts since the very beginning of this podcast. Of course, Ken McNook, the original LAFC Falconer, now Jason, the LAFC Falconer, who is at all of the matches, as Ken has moved to the Falconer Emeritus role in everything that he does. And of course, Amanda, who formerly of, what was it? I want to get the brewing right, Philly. Riley's. Thank you. Amanda, formerly of Riley's Brewing, who helped Defenders of the Bank have their own beer at tailgates for a little bit. The McNook family just could not be. And Ethan, can't forget Ethan. Ethan, longtime listener. We miss you too, Ethan. They have been absolute stewards of LAFC and everything that the club stands for, going out into the community with their Falcons, going to schools, going to all kinds of great events, and really representing the badge as well as any player on the pitch. Well, we are lucky enough, Philly, to own, each of us here, one of these kits. This is one of the University of Phoenix kits that Ken has been wearing around the stadium for years. Philly's number 19. That's not a Matty Bogusz kit right there next to him. That is a University of Phoenix kit. Ken gifted us each one of these signed kits, and we absolutely love you. I want to say thank you so much, and now I will shut up and turn it over to Philly.
Well, what do I have left to say? You positioned me to talk about it, and you literally said everything that there was to talk about. Yeah, I got nothing else to say other than the fact that, Ken, we love you, buddy. We absolutely do. I will never forget the time we spent at your crib in Burbank. Scarf and I came out there. We recorded. We had a lot of laughs. One of your Falcons Bond projectile nearly pooped on Scarf. If you go back and listen to those early episodes of Defenders in the first opening minutes of the Ken McNook interview, you could literally hear the splat as Bond pooped in the direction of JR. That was an amazing, amazing day. And since then, yes, we've been very close with Ken and his family. We have nothing but love. As I got to BMO Stadium the other day, I saw Jason, his son, the new LAFC Falcon, not new, but he's the one taking over. And he's like, hey, my dad's got some jerseys for you and Scarf. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't really know what any of that meant. And like Scarf said, he handed out some of his legacy kits. He was kind enough to even reposted, Jason that is, and he said, I hope to see it framed, meaning the kits, the jerseys, up in the next Defenders of the Bank podcast. I saw that. I was a little slow to getting it framed, but I did put it up there, and Scarf's wearing it, so that's got to count for something. But Ken, we love you. We love the McNook family. Nothing but love, and yeah, it's just an honor to call you friend, and we just love you, man. You on that, you signed it. He said, you're one of the guys. I'm sure he said the same thing to you, Scarf, that make game day special, and I agree. It's not a game day without Ollie or any of the other Falcons doing their pregame ritual, and of course, it's not the same unless we see somebody from the McNook family, all part of it. So nothing but love from Defenders of the Bank. Yeah, LAFC Falconer. Jason, we're going to give you a lot of poop from here on out, buddy. The mantle has been passed over to you, and I know you said bring it, but I know you did the MMA, but asking you shall receive. Let's just say that.
Listen, I'm not trying to get into a ground and pound with Jason for any reason. That's
I'm
for
trying
sure.
to get into a ground and pound with anybody else other than, well, he's back there.
We also, by the way, just want to remind everybody the Mo Fascio Futsal Court fundraising effort still underway for the court in Cudahy. Go to lafc.com/Mo-Fascio for your fundraising questions, concerns, and your, of course, place to donate. Philly, I don't have any more news and notes or anything. And this day in LAFC history, just want to remind everybody that on Monday, LAFC 2 has a match at Titan Stadium at 7:30 against Real Monarchs. That's RSL's MLS Next Pro team. And, of course, for all your ACFC needs, be sure to listen to the Angel City Chicks and to follow at Angel City Chicks on your social media platforms. My only question for you, sir, is who is do you know who's up next on Soccer in 60 for you?
What do you mean? Who's up next?
Like another interview or anything?
Oh, I mean, we did Soccer in 60.
But I mean, this week, isn't there one tomorrow?
No, that was today.
Oh, no,
so
today.
We interviewed the great Lauren Sesselman,
there
a
you
Purdue
go.
University Hall of Famer and an Olympic bronze medalist for Team Canada at the London Games. We had a chat with her. Scarf and I had the luxury and privilege of working with her and Vince over at 110. She hosted a show called Angels Wear Wings with Nina and Panda. So we'd spent some time with her. She was one of the people that we interviewed. And Meggie Darty Howard of Angel City FC as somebody else who was on the show.
Wasn't the show called Angels Wear Boots?
What did I say? Angels Wear Wings? Yeah, Angels Wear Boots. You're right.
Yeah. I would like to say, look, not to toot my own horn. Everybody, by the way, is so sick.
You've been tooting a lot these past few years.
Thank you. I was invited and got to be on an episode of Angels Wear Boots. That was so much fun for me. That was the highlight of my Angel City commenting and broadcasting ish career, was being on that one. That was fun. So make sure you tune in, Angel City Chicks, and obviously Philly. How do they follow Soccer in 60 again?
Yeah, so we're on everywhere. So at 4 p.m. on Thursdays, just go to the Empire Strikers YouTube page. We will go live on there. It's also on AM, FM radio, KMET. And then if you want to just listen to it on demand, just find Soccer in 60 on all your favorite podcasting platforms. It's myself, our buddy Tim Kolotz. Panda pops in with cameos. Nina Kiefer of Angel City Chicks pops in with cameos, and we got to get Scarf on there one of these days to cameo. Jonathan Reimers cameoed, so check that out. We've had a lot of great guests. Had Eric Duenas last week. Had players from all the teams here in this local area, including Empire Strikers, Orange County, the team down the 110, although he was a former LAFC player, and that of John McCarthy. Of course, LAFC peeps.
Yeah, that's came at 1490 on your AM dial, by the way. So if you want to head over to that, 1490.
Yeah.
Scarf,
I do have one bit of news to mention. I don't recall if we talked about it before, but I want to. Do you guys all recall when they started announcing early on before the third LAFC kit came out, how there were no LAFC players in the top 10? I don't think we had any LAFC players within the top 25. Well, all that nonsense has changed with the addition of the third kit and a Frenchman by the name of Olivier Giroud. We now have two LAFC players that are in the top 10 for best-selling jerseys in 2024. Denis has the number 3 best-selling kit. That brown kit, still, I think, one of the greatest kits that we've ever come out with in Adidas. He's at number 3, and then Olivier Giroud with the black home kit is at number 6. So just wanted to make sure that we highlighted it. We were all waiting for Olivier, and we were all waiting for the leak of the third kit, and they did not disappoint.
And I will say one other thing I'm going to do after this is I'm going to watch this season's first episode of Hot Ones, the hot wing eating challenge with that guy, the host, who interviews and asks questions of the person across from them. Philly, do you know who the opening guest this season on Hot Ones is?
Larry Friedman.
No. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is
wait, Larry did the thing with what's that dude's name? The blonde, is that Gordon Ramsay?
I mean, I know who Gordon Ramsay is. What? Oh, you're talking about the show. Yeah. No, he did the thing on the show, but I'm talking about Hot Ones on YouTube. The hot wing eating. It's not like a contest. It's just they get hotter and hotter and hotter, and he asks interview questions. And I can't wait. Look, y'all can say what you want about Zlatan. That Zlatan Carlos Vela rivalry was my favorite thing I've seen in sports in quite some time, and he lived up to all the hype and all the billing. So I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna smile, and I'm gonna laugh, and we'll have a good time watching that one. So
sounds good. All right, one shameless plug, folks. We've got a website. It's called defendersofthebank.com. We own the domain name. It's ours. On there, we have an icon. It's called Shop. If you click shop, right, there's all kinds of cool Defenders of the Bank merch. You may have seen Scarf or myself wear some of these t-shirts, whether it be the Defenders of the Bank, Saved by the Bell style font t-shirt, or the Philomonster Studios done in the way of Universal Studios. So many cool shirts on there, done by our graphic designer, Dexter, who creates our cover art. Really cool stuff. If you DM the Defenders of the Bank account, and only if you do, we will give you a link for a massive discount. We won't make it public, but we will give you a discount. The fall is coming up. The cold weather is coming up. Saw people wearing jackets at BMO last night. Perfect time to sport some of those awesome hoodies that we have. So make sure you DM the Defenders account, and we will send you the link for a deep, deep discount.
Yeah, shout out to our friends at 500 Level who take care of all of our merch that is done print to order, order to print, print to order. I don't know, whatever it is. Head on over to defendersofthebank.com, click on shop. And like Philly said, Philly will answer all of you if you message us. So there you go. Make sure you
code 3 in the chat on the Instagram side says, he says, Philly, I love you. I love you too, buddy. He got the Defenders of the Bank logo tattooed on his arm. Did that before I did. I still have
Yeah. I remember who that is. Yes, we took pictures, and you had said all that long time ago that you were going to go get it too. What happened?
I don't know. Maybe she started GoFundMe for tattoos.
Oh my!
Only goodness. If you get one too, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll see. All right. Look, LAFC Philly could have clinched a playoff spot with a win against Austin as RSL beat Dallas 3-2. And so the world was our oyster as we headed to BMO. And right after halftime, the match was pretty much set with RSL beating Dallas. So all we needed to do was figure out a way to get 3 points against Austin, which we drew them 1-1 at their place when we played them in the MLS regular season. I know. I was there. I watched, Yadier Obrian score a goal, a beautiful goal, by the way, at their stadium. And then, of course, the late goal by, I believe it was Kai Kamara. The late goal by Kai Kamara, who was one away, I believe, at that point from tying Landon Donovan. So a 1-1 draw for us. But Philly, we did have some success against them in Leagues Cup.
We absolutely did. We layeth the smacketh down on their green broccoli booties. And we've actually been very successful against them historically. 7 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. Although the regular season we did draw, but beating them when it counted, and not that these games didn't count, but in a tournament fashion, seems to have gone our way. We did it in 2022. We continue to do it. So we thought after coming off of a rough loss against Carson, in the way we did, that this would be the perfect turnaround game, the perfect rebound game. You and I both predicted 3-0 scoring lines. We were under the impression that it was going to happen, and then the game happened, and our score predictions did not happen. So I'm thrilled to have not placed any kind of a wager on it. And honestly, I'm happy that we didn't place a wager on an over and under of above 3. I would have thought they would have had more than 2 goals, but I would have thought we would have gotten at least 3 freaking points, especially out of an Austin team that is not very good, an Austin team that is struggling for relevancy these days, an Austin team that is in the cellar of the Western Conference, and an Austin team that was without 3 of their key players due to yellow card accumulation.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing, right? And I would say, look, Brendan Heinzike and Johan Valencia, those are pieces for Austin for sure. Brendan Heinzike, a regular starter at center back. Johan Valencia, one of the first subs off the bench every single match. But their talisman, Sebastian Driussi, who is as good as any player in Major League Soccer when he is on, I believe runner-up to Hani Mukhtar in the MVP race 2 seasons ago. Just one of those guys that you pay money to see. That's a butts in seats guy. I would pay money to see Sebastian Driussi play. Driussi wants out of Austin.
Yeah, did you see that he retweeted something? Somebody's comment about wanting Josh Wolf fired. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be very positive for Driussi down in the Lone Star State's capital.
And the fun part is their best prospect in the academy is another Wolf son, I think they have Owen Wolf and Steppenwolf and Teen Wolf and all kinds of other wolves.
Born to be wild, huh?
There you go. But yeah, I think he's their best academy player. He's a left-footed center back who's pretty fun to watch, I guess. But yeah, the Josh Wolf era, if they don't make MLS Cup playoffs, and certainly a draw against us kind of helped because Minnesota lost. So that helped them get within, 4 points of Minnesota at that point, I think. But interesting times for Josh Wolf and his 4-4-2 for sure. And Sebastian Driussi does not want to be there. It's all over social media. It's all over his social media. And when you have 3 players, this is what I have to wonder, Philly, and then we'll get into the lineups. You and I talked about this. They had 4 players coming into their last match on yellow card accumulation, and 2 of them picked them up within the first 25 minutes of the match. I mean, if that doesn't tell you something right there, I don't know. I mean, that's not even Edward Atuesta, Jesus Murillo style yellow card stuff. But that being said, let's get into the lineups. I know we had a player making an exciting start for LAFC on the side of things, but for Austin coming out in their 4-4-2, my player to watch was Brad Stuver. I thought it would be because we were peppering him with shot after shot after shot after shot. But you know what? He actually probably had the second best game of anybody on Austin FC. So good on you, Brad. Way to go. Defenders Mikel Dessler, Julio Cascante, and making his MLS debut, we mentioned a team in Ukraine. Well, Alexander Svatok from Ukraine himself. He's been on the bench for the last 6 matches, kind of getting acclimated to everything in Austin. This was his MLS debut on the back line, and Guillermo Biro rounds out the back line. Osman Bukhari, who was the best player on the pitch for Austin in the midfield, along with Alexander Ring, Danny Pereira, who I think is not long for MLS. I think he might go somewhere over in Europe, or at least to one of the larger leagues elsewhere, and John Gallagher, formerly of Atlanta United. And the player who scored against us in Austin this season would wind up scoring against us in LA this season, Yader Obrian, and forward Diego Rubio, my favorite non-LAFC MLS player of all time in a league where we did have Andrea Pirlo in our league, is Jossie Zardes on the bench for Austin. He is from Hawthorne, and I grew up watching him, yes, down in Carson. I have plenty of matches where I went to go watch Jossie, who grew up not far from me at all, and I was a huge Jossie fan. He would get into the match. I had a conversation with his father in Founders Club. That is a good family, and he is a good dude. He is a very polarizing figure, by the way, on the U.S. men's national team, or at least used to be when he got called in. Owen Wolf, Leo Väisänen, CJ Fodry, and Ethan Finley would be the 5 that would get in for FC Broccoli. Philly, the lineup for LAFC.
You could argue the U.S. men's national team is polarizing. period.
Nope, can't argue that. It just is.
Marcel LAFC starting lineup's concerned. Hugo Lloris continues to up his ante and his record for consecutive starts. He's the only LAFC player to start in every single regular season game. And I'm going to say that until we see a change. A Thomas Hasal change or David Ochoa, although I think it would be Hasal first and foremost. Sergi Palencia, who, by the way, keep in mind, still one caution away from suspension. I asked him a good question about that in the press conference. If you want to go and check that out, that should be on YouTube. Chanel Long and Ryan Hollingshead, who had a great day and had a great conversation with his mother-in-law too. Very, very lovely woman. In the midfield, Eric Duenas getting a start, and it must be that Soccer and 60 interview effect because he's been getting some minutes and actually played pretty well. Eddie Segura, there's your surprise in the midfield. Edward Atuesta, and up top, Matty Bogusz, Olivier Giroud, and Denis Bouanga. The players that would come off the bench, Kai Kamara, Ilie Sanchez, Omar Campos, David Martinez would come into the game, and I don't think I'm missing anybody. Did Tillman come in? I don't recall. I don't think he did. But anyway, that's your starting lineup and a couple players off the bench, and of course they are managed by Steve Cherundolo. Scarf, this first half was rough.
It was bad.
It was rough in the sense that it wasn't very exciting. There's a couple of things that I took notes on. By the time we got to halftime, and I'm not going to fast forward to that just yet because I know you have some things to say. I have some things to say. But it just wasn't the most exciting of halves. In fact, it just looked like two teams that looked really fatigued, playing in mud with heavy, heavy legs. That's what I gathered from there. It was just, I don't know. It wasn't the most entertaining 44 minutes.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, Austin FC didn't even get into Los Angeles until the afternoon of the game. They had some flight issues and didn't get until the afternoon of the game. And honestly, through the first 45 before stoppage time, the only thing that really even drew my attention other than two really bad fouls in 7 minutes from Eddie Segura as he was just taking out players from behind. It looks like he caught his foot at one point and bowled over a guy sort of shoulder to shoulder, but not really from behind on another. I just worry that I'll say this out loud because I feel terribly, but I think we saw good Eddie Segura after he got snake bit for a little bit there and really had some trouble on set pieces and really looked like the game was moving a little faster for him again. We saw good Eddie Segura after that for several matches, but I really think that what we're seeing now is the accumulation of MLS minutes on knees that have been a real issue for him. Two big surgeries on his knee for sure. And I think we might just be seeing a little bit more tired, a little bit more slow. He doesn't jump nearly as much as he used to or could. I feel bad for Eddie because it looks like he's laboring a little bit out there. Really, the only thing that I would say of any note was that Olivier Giroud was able to turn and fire there in the 25th minute. And if not for Brad making a great save on Olivier, we might be up 1-0 after 25, but that's it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I had. It was a pass that came to him from Eric Duenas. So shout out to Eric for finding him. It wasn't service in the box, but we'll take any kind of service that'll enable Olivier to turn and fire. I think Ryan had a really good defensive play in the 14th minute, thwarting Austin's Dessler on an opportunity in the box. There was a scenario in the 37th minute where we had a corner from Matty Bogusz and Ryan Hollingshead gets up there for a header. But once again, Stuver is there. Personally, Ryan Hollingshead, I think, played the best game out of anybody on LAFC. And I don't even have to go to FOTMob to get the player rating. I'm just assuming based on what we saw that he played the best. But what happened was stoppage time, Scarf. Stoppage time. There was only 2 minutes of it. But even before we really got into stoppage time, Diego Rubio attracts a yellow card on Eddie Segura. Then shortly after that, the defense fell apart before both teams went back in the locker room.
Brian Dunseth, who is the broadcast partner.
They call him an analyst these days, Scarf.
Sure. There you go. Bredos and Dunseth. Dunseth was talking quite a bit about how Diego Rubio is one of those dark arts kind of guys that likes to get under your skin, likes to do some things that maybe piss off the other team. And I think he baited the referee into the yellow card. But the problem is the referee wasn't wrong because it was easily Eddie Segura's third or fourth foul of the half. This one in a tough spot. And Diego Rubio goes down after kind of getting undercut. And that's what I mean, Philly, by maybe Eddie Segura not able to jump with Diego Rubio like he used to. And of course, that sets up the set piece. Dessler finds Bukhari. And this guy, Bukhari, Philly, Osman Bukhari set up a couple of really nice opportunities.
Yeah, he was very good
For Austin. I don't know what Aaron Long was doing on the positioning. Steve Trundle, without saying the name Aaron Long, said a defensive mistake, which I really couldn't understand, was committed on the play. It was clearly talking about Aaron Long's positioning. Somehow he got on the outside hip rather than the inside hip of Bukhari, who took full advantage, Philly, headed into the box and found Yader Obrian. And unfortunately, Philly, we were just late closing out. And oh, by the way, the guy who was late closing out, I really feel badly because I know I'm piling on right now. Eddie Segura.
Yep. Obrian was wide open, and that clearly a bad mistake. The team's leading scorer. Again, not an X's and O's guy, but I did say you got to watch out for this guy because he'll probably be menacing to your back line. And menacing he was. Awful to have gone into the locker rooms down this way. With a fatigued team, both mentally and physically, it's just not what you want to have happen at home. But speaking of home, I would say this, like the crowd, as the teams came out onto the pitch, didn't look like there was going to be a lot of people there. But towards 10, 15, 20 minutes in, people really started packing in on all sides. So it was a pretty good crowd for a Wednesday, all things being equal, but not a great first half for LAFC. They did have 3 shots on target, none as menacing as Olivier Giroud's shot from outside of the box. Sorry, I dropped something on my guitar. I'm going to go check on that later. But Austin only had 1 shot on target, and that's all they needed to make an impact. It was just the play we talked about, and Bukhari was the one who created it. But one would argue, as Max said on the broadcast, Diego Rubio should probably get the hockey assist because him drawing that yellow card on Eddie Segura clearly got to Eddie, and he started thinking about it maybe a little too much, let up a little bit, maybe took his foot off the defensive gas a little bit, and as a result of that, we paid the price going back into the locker rooms down 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, look, we didn't play well offensively. Duh. Doesn't take a lot to see that. But Austin employs that low block. They like 5 in the back. They like to bunker down. We played great defensively. Philly, again, remind us of the stat. How many shots on target?
For LAFC? 3.
No, for Austin, that half.
1.
That was the only one, you guys. That was the only one. LAFC goes entire halves giving up 0 and 1 shots on target many times this season. Unfortunately, this one came back to bite us. It's really frustrating to see us not be able to. It's like, I'll bring another football analogy, and don't worry, it won't be him. Those great Tampa Bay, Brad Johnson, Baltimore, Trent Dilfer-led Super Bowl teams that were all about the defense, right? This can't become that. We have over 50 goals this season, so it's not going to become that. But when we can't allow a goal so that we can get 3 points, that's rough. We got to be able to put 2, 3, or 4 into the back of the net. And real quick, before we start, Philly, you highlighted it just before I did. I love it. Before we start the second half, JLA with a great comment that says, this is our annual slump. Philly, you talked about it, I believe, last podcast. It's official. We'll be back up by playoffs, hopefully sooner. Couldn't agree more. This is our 4-match winless streak. But luckily, Philly, as we head into the second half, it would be much better on the offensive end for LAFC.
I couldn't agree more. We start off the second half still without too much to talk about. 51st minute, that guy again, Bukhari, to John Gallagher with a shot. And as our good friend Max Bredos on the call said, volleyball save for Hugo Lloris. And up to that point, the best thing that I had seen on the pitch from LAFC was Carlos Vela hanging out there with his wife. And then secondly, right after that, it would have been Brendan Hunt, Coach Beard. This guy, if you're watching the YouTube, his Funko Pop doll, the hula hoop one, I guess it's the one where he took the drugs and went mad at the nightclub. Those are the best things that I saw from LAFC. But then Scarf, we had game changers come on for LAFC.
Yeah.
Fresh legs makes us tap the kegs. Why, do you ask? For beer showers, because the beers and the drinks get thrown in the air in the North End when LAFC scores, and score they did as a result of Steve making some substitutions.
Yeah, and look, right before that, what I love is Steve was recognizing that we were starting to unlock things a little bit, right? I know I dumped all over Eddie Segura, but he did have that nice pass into Denis Bouanga into the box that just went off the outside of Denis' foot. And then Edward Atuesta, boneheaded yellow card earlier, but a nice set piece by Edward Atuesta, just missing Ryan Hollingshead. So you see Steve Cherundolo going, all right, I waited way too long in Carson to make my substitutions, so I'm going to make them at the hour mark this time. And it was Ilie on for Eddie Segura, David Martinez on for Eric Duenas. I also, by the way, talked about Jossie Zardes as one of my favorite players. He would come on right after this as well. So I was happy to see Jossie come on. But Philly, you're absolutely right. The young legs of, he was kind of doing, and I don't mean to compare the two players, but it's who he reminded me of, Philly. David Martinez doing a little bit of a Ricky Pooch impersonation in that he was running all over the pitch in all kinds of different ways, but none better than in the 62nd minute.
Acting like Ricky Pooch in the sense that him tucking in his jersey and crying like a little, anyways. No, that's not how I saw him. But look, David Martinez, I'm glad he stepped up in this moment, because the sad reality for him is a healthy Carlos Vela is going to take minutes away from the youngster. I know we've paid a bit for Martinez, but Carlos Vela still is the cornerstone of our franchise and more than likely will be the person that we would pull in off of the bench 65, 70 minutes into the match. No question about it, in particular on the side that Martinez is most comfortable in. But 3 minutes after checking in to the match, LAFC had some really good ball movement, and it starts with Aaron Long in the midfield. He gets it through a cheeky back heel pass from Olivier Giroud to Edward Atuesta, and he feeds Ryan Hollingshead on the left. He catches the eyes of David Martinez, and with a precision pass going through all, the youngster was able to get on the scoring sheet. And just like that, again, those fresh legs tap the kegs. The beer showers happen. We finally got a jolt of joy in the building, and that was awesome. Needed that. We absolutely needed some kind of joy because the offense just wasn't necessarily there. For 60 minutes, it was sort of a rough watch. And congrats to Ryan Hollingshead. He's starting to pile on some pretty cool milestones. I think he played in his 280th MLS game the last time around, the highlight of the game against Carson on this past Saturday. But with the assist, he now has 4 on the season, and he's one shy of equaling his career best total of 5, which he set back in 2021 as a member of FC Dallas, the team that we're going to face this Saturday. So good on Ryan. Again, he was the best LAFC player on the pitch for the full duration of the game. And congrats to David Martinez getting his second goal, if I'm not mistaken, wearing a black and gold kit.
And I want to say this, Philly, we got a little lucky on this goal, because if you notice, look, there was a lot of love given to Olivier Giroud's little soft touch to Edward Atuesta there. But if they both don't realize just before they collide into each other that they're occupying the same space, Atuesta had no idea Giroud was there until he looks up and sees the giant Frenchman right there and realizes, whoa, let me put on the brakes for a minute and head in the other direction. And that was kind of serendipitous, a beautiful, nice little touch on the back heel there. And of course, then, like you said, Atuesta to Hollingshead for the goal. Props to David Martinez, by the way, also, for settling down on that shot in the box, because Philly, he had exactly 0 touches before that shot. It was David Martinez's first touch of the match. And the fact that the young kid He's still, what, 19 years old. The fact that the young kid was able to settle himself down, we have seen some moments, and there were definitely some moments in this match, right, where he played like a 19-year-old kid who's just got his shooting boots on and he's ready to roll. But I do want to mention one other thing, Phil. I love when we wear these third kits because David Martinez actually wears long socks. I hate that David Martinez goes out there with those little tiny business socks out there instead of what everybody else is wearing. And I just love the long socks. David Martinez, you wear a jersey that's 3 sizes too big with long sleeves underneath. That's fine. I guess that's what the cool young kids are doing. But please stick with the long socks. I absolutely love the long socks. Keep it going, bud.
Kind of an odd thing to focus on. Now I have to go back and watch the highlights. These are things that I just don't pay attention to. If there's anything that I recognize out of him, yes, it's his hair. Because I wish I had more hair myself. But the long, the socks, like that puts you teach.
Yeah.
All right. Teach their own. Teach their own.
Listen, you mentioned Ryan had the best game of anybody out there, and I would actually completely agree with that. But in the 72nd minute, Bukhari kind of smoked him a little bit, crosses, and Biro with that one-timer, Philly. I mean, gave me a little agita, that's for sure. That one going just wide. Ugo looked like he saw it. We'll just say he saw it. Why not? And knew he didn't have to dive for it. And then, honestly, Philly, after that, we got Omar Campos coming in for Sergi. We got Timothy Tillman coming on for Giroux. And what that meant was now Matty Bogusz playing 3 positions. Again, another match where Matty plays 3. We were probably trying to steal one late, although Edward Atuesta really cramping in the 82nd minute when Kai Kamara comes on. One last kind of gasp, right? Right there at the end in stoppage time, Philly?
I mean, yeah, there was a run at the end. Denny just hit the side of the netting.
Yeah.
Pretty much all she wrote. It looked good for a split second. Thought it might have hit the far right side of the net, to the left of the pole. But no, it was definitely the side of the netting. So not to be confused with that. Yeah, for those who don't know, that's not a goal. You hit the side of the netting. Just saying. Yeah, there was one last gasp, but that was all she wrote. You commented on about the 72nd minute. Like my first line on there while taking the notes during watching the match was nearly threw up in my mouth in capital letters. Because Biro smacked the stitch out of the ball. See what I did there? I utilized a phrase that was not bad because we're family friendly, but that was a well struck ball. And that's how it ends. We get the point. Although it's a very hard-earned point, not an easy one. And we got it. Carson lost 4-2 to Portland, so that's great because now we're only 6 points behind them with 2 to go. We did fall into 3rd place, but we do have all the control to take care of this, and our schedule is very, very favorable. Dallas is not a great team. Sporting Kansas City, granted it's in the U.S. Open Cup, not a great team. San Jose, not a great team. So the reality is, if what we have here and on paper comes to fruition and is what it actually really is, we should have a smooth ending towards the season, elevating our position in the stands and hopefully securing that U.S. Open Cup trophy, because this is as close as we've ever gotten since 2018 when we bowed out in the semifinals against Houston, a team that would go on to win it, beating the Union back then. Crazy to think that the Dynamo have won 2 U.S. Open Cups since LAFC was given birth to, but they have. Now it's got to be our turn.
I want to shout out our good buddy Josh Gross, who is in all of the press conferences, all of the media scrums, all of the everything. If something is going on in the media world with LAFC, Josh is usually there. And Josh asked of Steve Cherundolo in the press conference, are you looking ahead to the Open Cup final, or how are you planning your roster for Dallas? And Steve had a very telling answer. And Philly, you hit the nail on the head. Steve Cherundolo looked dead bleep tired in that press conference. I mean, dead tired in that press conference. He was hand on his face at one point when he was describing some stuff, just looked tired. And so Josh asked him that question. And every other time, every single time, I have heard Steve Trundle ask the question about how are you going to deal with your roster? What are you going to do? What are you going to do here? He answers it the same way. He says, you know what? We're going to put a team out there. We're going to put an 11 out there that'll put us in position to win points or to get all 3 points or something like that. His answer this time was, you know, I have no idea right now tonight. I got to go back and look at it. He just had no answer. It wasn't even the quick response that he always gives of, we're going to put a team out there that'll give us a chance to win all 3 points. No, he goes, I have no idea. We got to look. We got to figure some things out, and we'll go from there. It was a really surprising answer, Philly, from Steve Cherundolo. It really does underscore how tired this club is. Shall we look at the table real quick, just to remind everybody where we are now with 28 matches in the books? Means we have 6 left, Philly, and we're not. You mentioned it, right? We're third in the table now.
Yes.
Okay, so that means RSL is ahead of us, but one more game played, 50 points to our 49, but 29 matches. Carson, obviously 55 points in 30 matches. That means there's 6 points up, but we have the 2 matches, right? So let's just project ahead. Ready, Philly? We win those 2 matches. We win those 2 matches, and Carson stays the same with their point total. That means we're tied on 55 points through 30 matches. So in the event that 2 teams are tied at the end of the season, here are the top 3 tiebreakers. Head-to-head record has nothing to do with it. First is total number of wins. And if we win those 2, then we will have 16 wins through 30 matches, and Carson will have had 16 wins through 30 matches. So we move to the second tiebreaker, goal differential. Right now, Carson has plus 15. We have plus 14. That could be the decider, because the third tiebreaker does not look good for LAFC right now. Carson holds the edge, 59-51 in total goals for. So we would have to score 8 goals in these next 2 matches, theoretically, or just outscore them by 8 or more goals over the next 6 matches in order to own that tiebreaker. That's going to be the tough one, Philly. So we got some things to look for as we play these last 6 regular season matches.
Yep, you're not. It's funny because I could have sworn on your notes there was no scheduling with the scarf or anything like that, or any conversations about supporter shield or all that other jazz. But I am glad that you went through this. Yeah, we've got a favorable schedule. I mean, the hardest, yes, and Genuine Cougar in the chat says FC Cincinnati will probably be our toughest opponent. Sure, on the road at TQL Stadium, that will be rough. The only thing is, they've clinched a playoff spot. They're not catching Inter Miami, so I don't know what kind of team they'll field, but of course it's LAFC, so everybody wants to give LAFC their best shot. Afterwards, we take on St. Louis. That shouldn't be that rough. Sporting Kansas City on the road. That could be rough. Vancouver at Bad Carpet Place. That should be okay. San Jose at home on decision day. That should be an absolute Smurf stew stomping. No question about it. At home on decision day, we need to murder the Earthquakes. We're going to be the ones setting the Richter scale, not them. But anything could happen in this crazy, crazy game of football. But to your point, yes, Steve seemed exhausted. The weight of the season could be something that's weighing in on him. The fact that, like, he has the personnel to win and something's just not clicking could be another thing. I mean, you alluded to the comment he made about Aaron Long without naming Aaron Long. So there has to be some frustrating elements to the team that he sees that they're just not doing what it is that they need to do. So I don't know where that's coming from as of yet, but it is that end of season slump. Going on the road in Texas, historically, as we've said repeatedly, never the best thing for us heading to Frisco. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the renderings of Toyota Arena or Toyota Stadium in Frisco. $182 million they're going to put in. gonna have the biggest screen in Major League Soccer. They're gonna make that place look pretty cool. Frisco, a suburb of Dallas, not actually in Dallas itself, and that's also where the National Soccer Hall of Fame is. So a reason to go down to that part. But our eyes are really locked and loaded on Wednesday. I hope we see a lot of you there, because an opportunity to lift a trophy, considering the ups and the downs. And I can't say we've had too many downs this season, but it would be pretty sweet considering the amount of finals that we have been in and the amount of finals that we have lost. I'm looking at FC Dallas, not so much as anything other than let's see if we could get a point on the road. To me, my focus and what I want to see is LAFC to destroy Peter Vermees and Sporting Kansas City, and for us to put another fun little thing on our banners, and that's the U.S. Open Cup trophy, which is the oldest tournament in the United States, dating back to 1914. Sporting Kansas City's got 4 of these. We'd like 1. We'll talk more about that on our preview on One More Sleep on Tuesday, but that's sort of my thoughts as we are arriving at the conclusion of episode Little Rock, Arkansas.
There you go. Philly, just to remind everybody, Denis Bouanga on 17 goals, Christian Benteke on 19 as we take a look at the Golden Boot race. Here's what I would love from all of you out there in Defenders Nation. Hit us up on social media with the answer to the following question. What is more frustrating for you? The fact that Aaron Long makes a defensive mistake and it costs us a goal, or the fact that LAFC cannot afford but one defensive mistake and still we only walk away with a point? I think the more frustrating thing is not being able to overcome one mistake, because we got a lot of guys who are playing their butts off out there. But we want to know what you think about that. Look, Philly and I were both wrong 3-0, but at least Philly's Jets won tonight.
Hold it. You've gone on record to say that Instagram is typically my platform to respond on, which I usually am very good at doing.
You're
asking the millions
and millions
to ask questions or answer questions on Instagram, knowing damn well that you rarely check the thing. I've got a bone to pick with you, my friend. Defenders, don't send it to IG. Send it to Twitter, because that's where Scarf responds.
I like it. Send it to both. I'll answer. We'll see. Philly
but there's one other thing that they need to send to the Instagram for Defenders. And what was that again?
Yes, that would be DMing us on IG to make sure you get the discount code for defendersofthebank.com's shop. We'll take care of you guys because you take care of us. We love you guys so much. The chat was absolutely on fire tonight. We love Genuine Cougar arguing with his son Schmurdy in the chat so that everybody else can see it. Isis, you are fantastic. We love seeing you in there as well. Football Foo, everybody else who was in there. We love you guys. Thank you all for being a part of episode 327. And Philly, why don't, just for fun, we do a One More Sleep tomorrow?
Yeah. Let's do that. That's right. Another fine episode. Let's do that. I like it. I'm ready. Hell, we can even do it right now if you want. Just kidding. I'm done. It's my 3rd podcast of the day. I'm good. But yes, we'll see you all tomorrow. Scarf, are we going to have a designated time where we can let everybody know that to tune in?
Yeah, tomorrow, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tomorrow for One More Sleep. Make sure you're there. We'll be there. And hey, Soccer USA. Hi, it's okay. You can go back and watch it and just pretend you're typing along with all the stuff that you disagree with. She says Scarf must be bored. What did I do, Isis? Why am I bored? I'm not bored. I don't know.
8 p.m. tomorrow, Defenders. One More Sleep. We preview LAFC heading down to Frisco, Texas to take on FC Ribeye Steak. Be there. You've been told. And if we're any time late, it's Scarf's fault, not Philly's. And on that note, yes, that 100%.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.